start over.
So, well, I was never the best singer, but we made the most money. We had to belong to the musicians union, so we had to pay our dues. So everybody knew what everybody made, and I was the highest paid entertainer in Ottawa. Now, it doesn't mean that we were making a lot of money, but I was still the highest paid entertainer. I'm not talking about people that came in from out of
Yeah.
town, but we were making the most money of anybody in Ottawa. But it wasn't because I was the best singer. It wasn't because we were necessarily the best band. It's because we made people have the most fun,
Yeah.
and they had fun.
Yeah, they sure did.
And we had people standing on their heads. We had people swinging from the chandeliers. Do you remember that day in the Blind Pig, the chandelier came down? Do you remember that?
I sure do.
And I had said, and we want you to sing "In Heaven There Is No Beer" and swing from the chandeliers, and somebody did.
Oh boy, I saw some wild shit in there.
Yeah. And I remember those transvestites that came in and danced. Oh, they were the most beautiful girls.
Yeah.
They weren't girls, but they were absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, that was one night.
If you wanted to be politically correct, you would say transgendered people.
Oh, well, we weren't, that was 35 years ago.
Yeah,
No
we
one
didn't
was
even know what that
politically-
meant then.
Yeah, we didn't.
That's
No,
right.
they weren't transgender. They were really transvestites. They weren't appearing as women in real life. They were just dressing up as women for a show.
That you would call a cross-dresser.
Okay.
Oh, whatever. we got it.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember them asking if they could be part of the show, and I said yes. And then when they were, I was just, what have I done? And the Blind Pig didn't care that much. I mean,
Yeah.
this was a Holiday Inn.
You know what? I thought those days seemed to be so much more relaxed than it is today. Everything
Yeah.
is so uptight, and everybody needs to know everything about everything. It's as if, you know, people come up to you. You understand how many times that happened in Ottawa. People would say to me, "Are you married?" They don't say hello. They don't buy you a drink. They come up to you and say, "Are you married?" You know, and then they need to like.
Smooth line.
Yeah, they need to find. They need to know everything about you. You know.
What's your other line?
They cannot leave anything to maybe have it linger in the air and be a little interesting, you know, without it being even spoken and put in words. I
Yeah.
thought that is probably the most boring thing about Ottawa, that everybody wants to like right away nail it down where they're at, and they have not the least
Are you
sense of
trying to
adventure.
say Canadians are like hillbillies?
I don't know what it is, guys. Maybe it's
They're not
because
exactly cool.
summer is short and nobody has
Well,
no time to waste.
When we were
I don't get
were
it.
there, we had kids. I mean, most of the people that we had were under 30. Do you remember that?
We didn't have a lot of older people. No.
We didn't.
There was it was a lot of fun working
we
with
were
Susan because there was like 10 girls to every guy.
For every guy, yeah.
and for a long time I was the only single
Yeah. Oh,
See?
yes.
single guy in the band.
I remember, though, in the Blind Pig, even though we got people singing and some person from this part of the room go and get a guy from this part of the room and kiss him right here on the floor. And what I meant is kiss him standing on the dance floor, and some girl ran across the room and grabbed a guy and slammed him down on the floor and kissed him. And she got a free beer for it.
Now,
But-
isn't that
But
something?
I remember one of the things that moved me the most in terms of a memory is that we had been doing this at the Blind Pig for 2 years or 2.5 years, maybe 3, and there once there was a gentleman who came in who was the minister of the church that is the official Ottawa church when they have any kind of ceremonies. It was the biggest church in Ottawa. It could have been a Presbyterian church. I'm not sure. And he came in to see me, and he came in especially, and he told me I think he called me first and said, I want to talk to you about my son. His son came almost every night.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to talk to you about my son. And I thought, oh dear, what have I done? Because I was teaching then too. I was teaching it during the day. And he said, I want to thank you. And I said, thank you? Thank you. Okay, thank you. And he said, my son, and as I'm thinking about it now, his son was probably autistic.
Yeah.
He said, my son goes into his room, he sits in his room, he doesn't come out, he's despondent, he's depressed, we've taken him to psychiatrists, and he said since he's been coming here, he's now social, he now has friends, and we see that he has done a complete change in his social behavior. And he said, at first I was very upset because it was in a bar. This is a minister.
Yeah.
And he said it was at a time when ministers were trying to say you don't go to bars.
Yeah.
And he was in a bar and he was with his friends, and he said, and I didn't know what they were doing. And he said, I was very nervous. And when I came to see you, he said, I came to see you about a month ago, and I didn't tell you that I was coming. And I was so relieved that it was all good, clean, fun, wholesome, kids having fun in a wholesome sort of way. And he said, and this experience at the Blind Pig has changed my son's and done a turnabout. And he said he's completely fine now.
Wow.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, that was one of the things that stayed with me.
Very good.
I mean, we it wasn't black or dark or whatever. It was upfront and joyous and laughter and
It was.
yeah.
You know, I feel like those days, as far as I remember that, there's always people watching out for each other. You know, you wouldn't just let somebody get completely wasted. You know, you would go with the girl to the washroom. You'd see that she was all right. You know, somebody would throw up. You'd be there at their side, get some water. You know, you wouldn't just take advantage of people. You know, you would not leave them alone. There was like a community, and that's the same thing that I experienced now in Atlanta too. The two different venues that we pretty much checked out this time, I feel. Is exact same thing. Even, I mean, Venkman's being so upscale, really, and so classy. And then the dive bar on the opposite end of the spectrum, we went to the Riverside Tavern, which is a total fun environment. I lost this phone here that I'm videotaping right now, and they gave it to the bartender, and I got it back the same night.
You lost your what?
This phone
Your
here.
phone.
This phone here.
And you got it back.
And I got it back. It's a very expensive phone, and everywhere else people would have just walked out with it, you know. I lost these sunglasses too, same night, and they kept them for me. I called in, somebody put my name on them, and I got them back 4 days later. They were sitting there waiting for me, you know. And when I have to, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I ended up getting a really big tequila shot, and I was not able to handle it at all. So I was really drunk, and that intoxication actually went on the whole next day. I was just incapacitated. It was like one day gone. This is pretty much why I stopped drinking liquor, because I felt it was such a waste of time. You would have fun, but then you would have to write an entire day off, you know. So I stopped doing that, and even so that happened, I felt like there were at least two people, two men, who were watching out for me. I knew they were checking what was going on, you know, what the level was and what other people were conjuring up, whatever, you know. It was such a really familiar atmosphere. It was such a really caring atmosphere, you know. And that's what I miss the most, I guess, you know, that it's no longer a community. It's no longer people who are cultivating an art form, you know, that thing that only happens when you have really good and experienced musicians who know the business, who know the stage, you know. I don't know what it is, but I was really enjoying my time in Atlanta, I have to say.